Concerns about gas shortages are growing in the European Union. The Russian Nord Stream 1 pipeline is staying shut, with the operator blaming a mechanical problem. The announcement came hours after G7 countries agreed to impose a price cap on Russian oil. For analysis on the situation, I'm joined now by Aurel Braun. He's a professor of international relations and political science at the University of Toronto. Again, thank you for your time, Aurel. Now, G7 countries are saying the timing of this move is no coincidence. Is this Putin retaliating in response to the cap on Russian oil?
This is what the European Union believes. The evidence tends to support that. It would be a very odd coincidence. Siemens itself, the company that has the technical skills, has stated that the leaks that the Russians claim are responsible for shutting down the pipeline, those can be fixed, they can be localized, so there's no technical obstacle. And consequently, what we are seeing is that Russia is not only using gas as leverage, but it is using it as a weapon.
How big of a blow for Russian finances will this oil cap that G7 countries are proposing be, and how far will it go to hinder Russia's ability to continue its fight in Ukraine?
The Russian government has said that it will not sell oil to countries that impose a cap, but it's far more complex. This is a new tool that the G7 has put together, and basically it involves not only the purchasing of oil, it also involves insurance for tankers, transportation, and consequently can have a worldwide export impact. It may mean that Russia will have to make the choice between not selling oil to anyone or selling it at a very low price, because if there's a cap, then everybody will want to buy that below that cap. We know that countries that are buying energy right now from Russia are buying energy at a great discount. So India, for example, is buying a good deal of Russian energy, and they're getting a huge discount. But now the problem is that because Russia has taken this step to weaponize energy, there's a message that will go out to the rest of the world, and that is that if you become dependent on Russian energy, you could be subject to Russian energy blackmail.
Now, in terms of this Nord Stream pipeline shutoff, it's only really, recently been in operation. It's not even operating at full capacity, so it's still a fairly small portion of the gas supplies that's been going into Europe. But what does this mean, this threat for Europe and Germany in particular, where the dependency is so high on Russian gas, particularly as we head into the winter months?
Well, we're talking about Nord Stream 1, and there had been very large supplies of gas coming through that, and the Europeans clearly are going to encounter more pain in terms of energy, but they have also been preparing better for this than they had in the past. There is a recognition now that that Russia has been weaponizing energy, and so the Germans, for example, have their gas storage facilities 85% full. And the German Chancellor, as well as the British and the Italian leader, have said that Europe is going to be able to weather these actions by Russia. It will be painful, but they can get through. It will poison relations with Russia. And as I noted, even though Russia may think that this is a tactically clever move, in the strategic sense, that is the long term, it is something that is bound to be extremely harmful to Russia. Because when you are an exporter, you are successful because you are producing a product and selling that product that is wanted. You are selling it at a price that is desirable, but you also need to be reliable. And if you are not reliable, you eventually will lose the markets.
Officials say there is scope to replace the gas that's lost from Nord Stream with liquefied natural gas imports for now. But when weather turns cold and demand starts to pick up, this liquefied natural gas will only stretch so far. So what does Europe need to do to try and set itself up for the long term to try and not be so dependent on Russian gas?
In the longer term, of course, Europe wants to move to green energy, and they want to stop dependence on fossil fuels. Now, that is not going to happen for some time. And so in the immediate term, what we're seeing is that the Germans, for example, had to make a choice between environmentalism and geopolitical reality. That is, as much as they would like to do whatever it takes to protect the environment, as do most people, they will now use coal in an emergency, which is highly pollutant. They will not follow through the plan to shut down the remaining nuclear plants that they had. The French are moving ahead and investing vast sums of money in nuclear energy, something like 57 billion euros, that will tremendously increase the capacity to produce electricity via nuclear power, which is clean energy, but there are obvious risks. So we are in a transformative stage where this ability that Russia has to leverage that energy for political purposes may have an immediate and very painful effect, but in the longer term, Europe and the rest of the world will find ways around it.
Aurel Braun, thank you very much for your time. Professor of International Relations and Political Science at the University of Toronto there.